Hello, everybody. This is Dalton Young with the Honest Providers Podcast and IOP Link. And today we're going to be speaking with our friend Alexia. She is an LCSW with the Traveling Therapist here in Florida. And really quick, just wanted to bring her on for a chance to share her story and her experiences, not only in the behavioral health or as a therapist, but also what it means in her eyes to be an honest provider and what ethical care looks like. So welcome, Alexia.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So really quick, whereabouts are you based out of?
Yeah, so I'm based out of Cape Coral, Florida.
Okay, awesome. And you've been down there for a while, and you're with the Traveling Therapist. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Traveling Therapist?
Yeah, so it's a group practice. So we have a few clinics. One clinic is Cape Coral. We have Fort Myers, Port Charlotte. So this is all on the west side of Florida. So basically, if you don't know where that is, that's like an hour up from Naples. That's usually where people most know it as. But
Yeah.
So it's a group practice focusing on individual, couples, marital counseling therapy, couples counseling. Oh, wait, I already said that. And also psychiatry as well. So we offer a range of different services. So it's myself and like 25 other therapists. So,
Oh, wow.
And also we do have groups as well.
That's awesome. So y'all offer a variety, where some therapists are very specific in what they do, and y'all cover obviously a range, everything from, family to couples and everything else. So I think that's awesome. And Southwest Florida, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
awesome. Well, great. Well, let's dive in. So I guess really quick, you already told us a little bit about who you are, but what really inspired you to become a therapist and on this journey in therapy, recovery, work, etc.?
Yeah, so I always say that it's kind of like a long story, but I will keep it as short as possible. But essentially, what got me really interested as a kid, so I was in the foster care system after my parents passed away. And so after kind of going through that experience, I had my own therapist, my own case manager, and I kind of like, and at the time as a child, you're kind of more focused on like what your issues really are, more so than what's kind of going on. But as I got older, when I, went to high school, at first I wanted to be a journalist. That was my first focus because I wanted to help people. I've always wanted to help people since a young age. I started to volunteer. I started to do because I'm originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And so basically I would start volunteering at different organizations in the school system. So I started to do a lot of volunteering. And so when I went to high school, I was like, well, I really like to help people. And my friends would say I'm the therapist of the group. So it was kind of like an ongoing joke. And
That's a
it
calling.
so happens I'm a therapist now. And so I was kind of thinking about what I want to do. And my sister-in-law is actually the only other therapist in the family. So she's also an LCSW. And so us being the only two mental health professionals in the family, I really got inspired by her. And she would tell me a lot about the field. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And so I went to college. My alma mater is Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton. And so I got my bachelor's and master's degree in social work from the university. I graduated 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so just kind of going through those experiences, I also went through the 2018 Marjorie Stoneman Douglas school shooting. And so kind of going through those experiences, having my own kind of trials and tribulations, that was the main thing that really inspired me, was kind of a mix of both, like my own personal experience. And as a person, I'm very giving, and I love helping people. I love to meet new people. It's just something I really enjoy. So those are kind of in a snapshot what kind of brought me into this field.
Yeah, no, it says a lot about your character and your values, but also just to be that you've personally lived it. And we hear that a good bit. And I feel like a lot of people that are in this industry, it's not necessarily what we would call an easy industry to be in. It takes purpose, it takes passion, right? And a lot of times that comes from lived experiences, like not only your personal experiences that you couldn't control, but also the ones you are able to control. So I think it's great that you took that passion and kind of dialed in on it and harnessed that to be where you are now, which is creating change in the world. So you talked about, my next question was going to be, what are some things you've experienced or witnessed? But you kind of covered that with this.
Yeah.
You were talking about, the school shooting, or even just growing up in the system and seeing that
Yeah.
firsthand. And, I'm assuming what sort of things, for example, foster care or any other situation, what made you want to do things differently?
That's a good question. So as I kind of like studied, like social work, and I always say that, the universe has a very funny way of showing us things, and, God works in mysterious ways. That's something I was always told growing up. And so kind of looking back at my experience as an adult, I realized a lot of things that could have been changed. Like, for example, just in general, child welfare, right? Like, I also worked in child welfare. That was actually one of my first jobs out of my bachelor's degree. And I just noticed that, especially working as a case manager and seeing my own case manager, like, I kind of remembered things as a child. And I remembered that, maybe things like, for example, I would have wished my case manager maybe would have paid more attention to, what was going on in the home, because there were things that weren't right, to put that lightly. And so, in working as a case manager too, like kind of having both of the experience, like I noticed that a lot of case managers are also overworked. So there is that other perspective as well. But as a child, you're not really gonna pay attention to that. But as an adult, like I looked back and I was like, wow, that was my experience. Another thing I feel like the biggest things that I would change is a lot of it is systematic, the way that the systems are, whoever is in charge, the higher ups. Because just like you said about passion, I feel like it really takes special people to be in the field, and especially when it comes to the passion. You can tell right off the bat who's genuine and who's just there for a paycheck.
Definitely.
And I feel like that makes the biggest difference, especially in organizations. And if someone's not happy in their own job, then that's going to show in their work. And I feel like as someone in the field now, like I really try my best to put in 100% of my effort. And of course, I'm not a perfect person either. So maybe there's days where I'm like, okay, I need to kind of push through today, but I try my best, right? To try to give the best service I can, but to also be genuine as well. Like, I'm very much not the cookie cutter type of personality, but I'm also going to be real with it, but also try to help in the best way I can. And I feel like that is a big problem that I noticed kind of growing up and being in the field, because I kind of tie it to both experiences.
Right.
A lot of it too, especially like having my own therapist growing up, I saw a big disconnect. That connection I felt like was a big disconnect. Like I didn't really feel understood of like, this is my situation. I almost kind of felt like this weird out of body experience. I can't really describe it, but I just kind of felt like I was too different or, oh, I'm like too broken for someone to understand me. And I never want anyone to feel that way. And that's kind of what I tried to be, as I guess in a sense, because of course I'm not going to experience everything that my clientele experiences, but I try my very best to be able to at least put myself in their experience, or just in the way support.
Right.
But I would say in a snapshot, that would be some things that I saw.
Definitely. And I can hear it a lot in the way you explain things, is that despite you having your own, we all have our own unique situations, and everyone's going to be unique in that way. But in the therapy, in the field of being a therapist, right? There's a lot of situations where it's not about having the same background as much as it is being empathetic. And I see a lot of empathy in the way that you're speaking about your passions and what you do, and experiencing the experiences you have had, is that empathy goes a long way in helping understand your patients, and even understanding other peers. For example, you were talking about essentially burnout. We see that a lot with an industry like this, it's very emotionally driven. So even though we have passion, even though we have purpose, it still can be draining on a daily basis. So coming in with a refreshed and kind of renewed mindset each and every day to be that support for these clients, be that support for yourself and your family, right? There's a lot, you're experiencing a lot of pressure from a lot of different ways, and not getting burnout is something we see a lot of, and trying to protect your own, I always say you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. So I think you're doing a great job of that, and that empathy, especially in a system that is broken. That's something we talk about a lot over at Protect Advocacy, is the system itself and how it impacts other families, other patients, and providers and people that are actually working in the system. It's a lot of people show up for a paycheck and have to, and a lot of people will work the system to work in their favor, and that's something we have to steer clear of. So knowing how to advocate and look out for yourself, your family, and yourself, and of course your peers. It's like this big emotional battlefield that we serve on each and every day, trying to, again, maintain the course. So I love what you're doing. I love the empathy that you have for your patients and for what you're doing in this field, because that's what changes the industry. But with that said, what do you think in your mind would need to change for things to truly improve in the industry in the way that you serve it?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of different things, but I feel like the biggest one that kind of comes to mind is like the laws and the rules and the legislation that's kind of out right now. It's constantly changing, and it's kind of exhausting in a way to keep up with it, but also it's kind of difficult, especially for, you know, newer people kind of in the field. It's like, for example, like I mentioned that I'm 2 years out of graduation, I'm licensed. And so kind of looking at that, I still kind of, even though I've been in this field for 6 years, I'm still considering myself new in that sense of, I'm newly licensed, right? And also, but I can't imagine for someone who maybe is just starting in the field or is in school, because so much is changing now, like even in the coursework. Like, for example, I took a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion classes in college, and now that's like pretty much non-existent. And that definitely, and believe it or not, it does affect like the agency work, and it affects our field tremendously, because I feel like people are tiptoeing around certain topics, or it's kind of like, oh, everything has to be very hush hush, and it's like, no, we have to be open about these things. And especially as providers, like, we need to be mindful of not only the burnout, but I think in our approach when it comes to, clients, patients, however we see it, because at the end, it's important to be an honest provider, but also not chasing the money, because yes, we need to be able to pay our bills because things are expensive, etc. But that doesn't change. Like, yes, the money's important, but that shouldn't be your drive to be in this field, because if you want to make more money, you can honestly go somewhere else. But because I'm not saying, because you can absolutely make money in this field, but you shouldn't be seeing your own clientele as dollar signs.
Right.
They're people, like, because especially since, we serve a very vulnerable population. And so the clientele that we serve deserve our 100% best. And of course, we're not perfect, right? We have our moments too. Right. And that's why like supervision is really important, peer support, just having support just around you. Right. So then it can help alleviate that in the best way possible. But I would say that's kind of the biggest thing that comes to mind, but there's so much more that I feel like needs to change. But I feel like that's the biggest one.
Definitely. Yeah, we see a lot changing as well, not only in the legislature and stuff, but also in the back end, like the change, just simply like changing. Most people don't understand when you're a therapist, the amount of, there's the therapy work, but then there's everything from notes to billing to CPT codes, all the other things that are constantly evolving as well, right? And I do agree with you though, having a great support system will help alleviate some of those burdens, help. We work together as a team. I like to say we're in the people business, right?
Yeah.
That way we're serving each other, we're serving our patients or clients, and working as a team, because there is so much changing, and we have to be able to have those open conversations and be able to grow as a team. And, like you had mentioned as well, having supervision, again, having a great supervisor who has that experience to help lead, mentor, and guide, those who are up under them is super important as well.
Absolutely.
That's definitely, I love hearing the message you're preaching.
Yeah.
It resonates so well, and there's so much of it. Like, I want to cover all of it, but I'm like, I agree with what you're saying. There's so much that needs to be improved, not just systematically or legally, but also as an industry as a whole. And I think therapists are doing their best to do that, right? You don't come into this field without purpose. The only way you're going to make it in this field is purpose. And if you're here to chase money, that's the wrong field to be in. Not only for you, because yes, there are other ways to make more money, but there's also the principle that you're affecting people's lives. And if you're chasing money for your own benefit, we're here to serve others. And, as we continue to serve others, we, in the end, reciprocate some of that for ourselves, but it has to be a patient first focus.
Absolutely.
I agree with you on all that. So, as far as other providers listening in, maybe other families, what message would you want to share with them about this work that you do, and what's how to do it the right way, what they should be looking for?
Yeah. Be the change that you wish to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the biggest thing that also comes to mind. Like, there's so many ideas that are kind of coming to mind, but because it's like, no matter what you've gone through experience wise, right? Because I can sit here and talk for hours and hours about my own story, but at the end, it's like, I can use my story to be able to help others. I feel like that's important, but also education's important too. It's a mix of everything, and passion, like you said, and because that's what helps stand out. And I feel like no matter what you've gone through, especially as a provider, like, you can be able to use that to help others, but also it's like, be that change as well. Like you said, it's like these are people's lives that are right in front of us, and that should not be taken lightly. We have to be able to really, like, there's that purpose, and that 100% resonates. And, like I said, we're not perfect people at all. Like, I don't want to preach and say that I'm perfect and whatever. Definitely not. But there's that level too that I, to look out for is just, really sit down and take a look at the mirror. What is it that you want? What are you looking for? What do you want in your life? Where do you want to go? Like, a lot of times I hear people say, I'm coming to therapy because I need to make a change. Well, what is that change? Like, let's dive a little deeper into that, right? Like, do you feel stagnant in your life? Do you feel like your life is, is your life absolutely chaotic? Okay, what is it that needs to change? Maybe it could be a lot of things. Maybe it could be a ton of things. Maybe it could be quote unquote smaller things, but it's like, okay, we have to start from somewhere. That doesn't mean that you haven't made progress. We're just here to expand on that progress.
Absolutely. No,
and I feel like that's a big thing.
What I love that you've mentioned that, I'm not a perfect person, and that, again, that just shows you see yourself true. Like, you see the true side of yourself, I guess is the best way to describe it. You're not perfect, and being able to admit that says not only a lot about you, but what you're able to see within your patients as well, or clients. And you will, by you saying that, it just makes me think back to the principle that a lot of times people have had bad experience with, maybe it's a therapist, maybe it's a clinician, a provider, whatever, in medical, and they get, I guess the word, I would use the phrase gun shy, but they get, I don't know, they kind of stay away from healthcare, and maybe they don't seek another therapist or seek someone who aligns with them. And that's something that we see a lot with our clinicians, is that we may have one patient who does exceptionally well, whether it's in an individual setting or a group setting. They may do well with this therapist, but again, they may not. They may work better with a different therapist, and sometimes that's aligned from, whether it's, the way they teach, their level of empathy, their, the strategy around it all, or just who they are as a person. Sometimes, it could be related to anything we talk about, diversity and, everything around that. It could be, someone's, they align with them better as a person, and maybe that person's personal experiences, because it allows us to connect, because we're all people. So how they connect with you may be different than how they connect with someone else. So I like to tell people, especially any families listening in, don't get too afraid to seek alternative help. If you're working with someone and you don't feel that that's the level of care you need or the experience that aligns with what your needs are, there are plenty of fish in the sea, right? There's plenty of people out there who you can continue to explore. Don't be afraid to keep searching to find what's right for you, because at the end of the day, as therapists, as providers, and as, facility owners, et cetera, we're here to serve our patients. So our goal is to serve you. So what you need is what we want. So again, don't be afraid to kind of try it out. And if something doesn't work out, don't be afraid. Just keep going, because getting the help is more important than hurting our feelings, because we want to see people be successful.
Exactly. And you can't make it about yourself either, because it's like, if it's not a good fit, then it's not a good fit. Because I've always been told this, and and sometimes I have to remind myself of, it doesn't even have to be personally about you, but it could be just like fundamentally we're not there. Or, and I always tell like my clientele, I say, okay, if there's something that's not working for you, or if I'm not the right fit, okay, let me know. And if you don't, then I respect that too. Like, I hope you find what you are looking for. Because like, what if they're looking at, like, let's say that I get a referral and it's something I do not specialize in. I'm not going to take that referral, because I'm not chasing the dollar sign. It's like, I have to look and I'm like, I don't specialize in this. I know that I'm not what you're looking for. Let me point you to the direction of someone who does. Because, okay, I can be able to bless that other person. Maybe that other person is taking on those referrals and that's going to be a great fit, or vice versa. I think that's really important.
And being honest with yourself, or patients being honest with themselves of what they see that they need, will ensure that, because if for example, if you have someone going into therapy and they're working with someone that doesn't align with what they need, it increases the risk of them falling out of therapy, or maybe causing harm in a way that, if they were with the right person, then their chance of success, their chance of, improvement is there. So we want to continuously be aware of making sure patients get the care that they deserve, and honest and ethical care at that. So looking back on everything, at your journey so far, what are you most proud of? And I know this is kind of a tricky question, but if you could speak just to the world, what would you say you're most proud of in your career?
I'm proud of so many things. I'm just grateful to be in this field, because I mean, it is a privilege. It really is. And I'm just grateful for how far I've come. I can see the difference because I started this field when I was 19. I'm 25 now, and that's a big jump.
Yeah.
I'm just proud of the growth that I've had, because I'm able to better serve my clientele. I'm proud of so many things. Like I said, I'm proud of client successes too. I've seen a lot of different success stories, and I've met some pretty great people along the way. I have really great memories of, all the places that I worked into, and just, like, for example, a memory would be like before I moved to Cape Coral, and it still even gets emotional for me to this day. Like, I remember I was working at this place called Healthcare District of Palm Beach County, and I still say it was a great place to work at, but I remember they threw like an entire like thing for me right before I left, and I remember I ran a group, like one of my last groups. I loved those groups, loved them. And I know that they loved them too. Like they got emotional, I got emotional. Like it was just like, it was one of those moments of wow. Like you really saw everyone, you saw everyone's growth. That's like honestly the biggest reward is like seeing your clients grow and they're like, wow, look at like all this amazing exciting things. Like I remember in that job, like I got married and I remember they were all like cheering, like, oh my gosh, like Alexia's getting married and whatnot. And you know, we were able to kind of celebrate these stories and it was just like, wow, like I saw that growth and it makes me excited to come into work every day to be like, wow, I actually see not only your success, like I see that, you know, and I'm most proud of that. I'm also proud that I got licensed. Like I actually just received my my license number today. So yay.
Awesome.
Thank
Perfect
you.
timing.
Yes, and it took me 4 times to pass this exam, so I'm also very relieved that that's over. It's just been quite a journey, you know, and this field is only going to keep growing. Like I'm really grateful and proud for the, you know, for the people that I've met and the people I've also seen grow too. Like even like the clinicians, like I've had a pretty good experience in this field, you know, like for the most part. And I'm just grateful for the journey that I've been a part of because everything happens for a reason. Like I've been in places that are really good and really bad. I've been in some good situations and not so good situations, but I'm just grateful for it all because at the end it's led me to now and I'm in a really good place and the company that I work for is really great and I really, really enjoy it.
Love it. Love it. No, that's really great to hear. I always love to hear what people are proud of because you can just see that growth in their journey and where they were and where they are now, and it just says a lot about you. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join, you know, to jump on this podcast and share your experiences and helping the world, you know, sort of see what it's like to be not only a therapist but what empathy looks like and what ethical care looks like and what it means to be an honest.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really grateful to be here too and yeah, definitely to be in the field that it's definitely a rewarding field, but it definitely has its challenges too. You know, and especially on like the good days and the bad days, it's just really important to take care of yourself so then you can pour into other people's cups as well. Because if I don't pour into my cup, how can I pour into your cup? And I try my best to be able to do that. It's not perfect, but I try my best.
Definitely. Where would be if someone wanted to get in touch with you, where would they be able to find you on whether it's a website, social media, etc.?
Yeah, so there's a few places. So you can find me on Psychology Today. That's one place. Another place is Instagram. My tag is Healing with Alexia. So I converted that to a business page this year. Have I posts on it? No, I probably should. Where else? I'm also the Traveling Therapist.com. Yeah, .com or .net, one of those two. No,
Okay.
it's .com.
We'll put them in the description so people can.
Yeah. It's .com, and so you can actually be able to look at my bio. You can see a little bit about myself. You can see what modalities I do and what kind of specialties and whatnot. So you can find me there. There's also this place called Therapy Search.
Okay.
So Therapy Notes, the EHR system just came out with this Therapy Search. And so you can be able to search up my name as well. You can also search up my name through LinkedIn. You can also search up my name through, where is it? Therapyportal.com as well. And so you can be able to request an appointment as well. So you can be able to just find my name and then we can chat.
Awesome. No, definitely. No, that was good. I didn't know Therapy Notes had because I know Therapy Notes. We use it a lot. And
yeah, it just came out.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to check that out too. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so anybody watching this, if you're in Southwest Florida and you want to get in touch with Alexia, we'll have her links added below. And again, Alexia, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak with me and be a part of what we're doing here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.